Hi, everybody. Welcome to Camp Creatology. Today, we are making these awesome layered foam things, which I think of all of the crafts that are in these kits, this one is my very favorite because it's so bright and colorful. It's also pretty easy. It comes out of the purple Camp Creatology kit. So if you have that along, great. If not, I'll also show you what kind of supplies you'll need to make this kit with us. So if you want to switch us over to our view from up above, I'll open this kit and I'll show you guys what's inside of it. Okay. Okay, and let me really quickly lower this so that people can see what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, so inside this kit, we have our book that walks you through all of the instructions, everything you need to go along and do all of the kits in this kit that we're going to be doing this week. Here's the instructions for what we're doing today. My favorite thing too are that there are also really cute little activities you can do, a color-in page, as well as stickers, because who doesn't love stickers? That unicorn is adorable. Okay, so let's dive into what we're going to need for our craft today. Today, we're going to need some of these stickers. We're going to need some of the flowers and the rainbows, maybe the unicorn. Some of these stickers, this goes on a different craft, so we're not going to use those today. We're going to need our template that looks like this. It may have the parts already filled in. That's entirely possible, but it's going to have this and it's going to look like a sun. We're also going to need our scissors, our Creatology blue scissors. And then we're also going to need our foam that's going to look like all of this, okay? So that's what we're going to use today. I'm going to pull this out and we're going to go ahead and get started, all right? Are you guys ready to make this with me? Okay, so let me put this over to the side. We'll get it out of the way and we will use our foam. So I'm going to kind of follow along with the instructions. And what we're going to do first is we're going to pick our background color, which is going to be one of these colors, because we've got a bunch of these colors. And so that's a good color to be in the background. So I'm going to pick this kind of like orange yellow kind of color, if you can see. And we're going to use this as our background. This is going to be the only piece of foam that we're not going to cut into our little stripes. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to use our colored sheets of paper or colored sheets of foam to make the different variations and make our sunset or sunrise. For me, this was a sunset because the colors got darker as the sun was farther away. So, or excuse me, a sunrise as the sun was farther away. So we're going to make our sunset. So we're going to need some glue, which looks like this, or if you use all of this glue and you decide you need some more glue, I'm going to use some glue that looks like these guys right here. Just any kind of glue will work. Elmer's glue. It probably, I will say this, it does need to be a liquid glue, because if you try to do this with glue stick, it's not going to stick very well and it'll just peel right off. So it needs to be a liquid glue, or you could do glue dots, would be like super fast and super easy. Glue dots would totally work. So I'm going to use this glue today, and we're going to, what the instructions say are to cut your strips, cut each color into strips, and then to leave one edge straight, and then just kind of cut squiggles on the other end. And so that's what we're going to do. Okay. So I'm going to pull out my colors. We're going to use all of the colors because I never met a color that I didn't love. Okay. So I'm going to use dark blue, purple, definitely going to use some light blue, probably going to need some yellow in there. For sure we'll go with some green and some pink. Oh, teal, that's like my favorite color. And then do I have, I think That should do it. So I'm going to put these away. These are so you can do other colors. Oh, we might want some orange. Yes. These are so you can do other examples. Okay. And then so the dark orange is to do other paper, because there's enough in here to do this project 3 times. And then this is what we're going to use to cut our sun out of, which will be our last step that we'll do. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to put those over to the side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of follow the instructions, and I'm going to cut kind of like strips like that, like 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. And I'm just going to kind of cut it straight across. And because I know that we want to be able to reuse these colors, I'm going to cut 2 of each of them. And we'll start there, okay? And then we'll do the same thing here. The great thing about this project is it's like whatever you want it to be. You can do it however you want. If you want to do like all of a certain color, great, more power to you. If you want to do where it kind of starts dark, goes up to the light, or maybe you want to do the reverse where it starts at the top dark and goes light at the bottom, any of those options will work. They are all really good options. Okay, I'm going to do another one of these just so I have the option. And then do some hot pink. Gotta have pink in a sunset or a sunrise, depending on which one you want to do. Okay. I think I'm actually going to not put yellow in mine because I want the yellow to be all about the sun. This example has some yellow pieces in there, but I like that the sun is the only yellow thing. So I think I'm actually going to skip that yellow. And we'll go to some light blue. I don't know about you guys where you live, if you have really pretty sunsets or sunrises, but where I grew up in West Texas, a town called Midland. I don't know if we have anybody watching us from Midland, Texas, but that's where I grew up as a kid in Midland, Texas, because it was so dry and there was so much like dust and dirt in the air. Had the most beautiful sunrises and the most beautiful sunsets. And we had a neighbor that lived down the street from us, because I lived kind of out in the country. And our neighbor would go out into his front yard and he would say, Kellers, that's my last name is Keller. He'd be like, hey, Kellers, are you seeing this? Get out front. He'd make us all go out front and see the sunset to make sure that we saw the pretty sunsets, which was all the time because it was so pretty out there. Okay, so I've got my strips, and the nice thing to remember is we may or may not use all of these, but it's nice to have the options. And then what I don't use, I can put back in my box to save for doing this project again. Or if you have a brother or sister that's doing this project, they might want to use some of the same colors. It's a nice way to be able to reuse them. So nothing's going to go to waste, which I like. But I also like that I have like some thicker pieces and then some thinner pieces, because it allows me to have like some depth in my sunrise pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the top and go down. Do you see how these instructions have that working? I'll pull it up so you can see. You're going to start with the very first piece at the top, and you're going to go down and you're going to just kind of build it from the top to bottom. So that's how we're going to make this work. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide what color I want at the very top. And the nice thing is you can follow the pattern that they laid out here, where you can start with your pinks, oranges, yellows, down into the light green, to the blues and purples, to the dark colors, or you can do the reverse. However you want to do it, you can do a mix, however you want. I think I'm going to kind of follow how they built it because I think that looks really nice. So I'm going to find my pink, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to take the straight kind of side on the bottom is going to be the bottom piece that goes on the bottom. So where we're going to kind of attach our glue. And then you're just going to cut kind of a squiggly line, however you want to do it. There's no right or wrong way to do it, which is why I kind of like this project And these scissors cut this foam so easy. So you can kind of just like wiggly it up. They don't have to be perfect curves. You can kind of just like go, and then I'm going to come back over like that. I think that's good, right? There's no right or wrong way. And then that's going to be my first piece. And I'm going to kind of have it up close to the top like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glue, and I'm going to put glue kind of along the bottom here. And then I'm going to put that piece down. Okay. And just push it, and it's going to dry while I cut out my next piece. So then I think my next piece is going to be that dark orange. And we're going to use this piece right here. And so then I'm going to kind of lay it. And do I want it to be, you're going to just kind of decide how you want that to go. And I'm going to just kind of like maybe do like this, like a bigger, and then down like that. So it's maybe less hills on it, and put that maybe so it overlaps there like that. That's kind of what I'm going to do with that. Okay. And then more glue again, and just kind of put it on the back. You don't need a ton, but you need enough so that it'll stick to like the pieces that it's going to. Okay. And this is where it kind of gets tricky. You start to have this ledge. So you need to push it to the bottom here and into the top. And we'll let that keep drying. And then our next piece is I'm going to do another pink piece. And this one, I'm going to have it be super kind of wavy. They're basically just kind of cutting out a bunch of hills. Like that. And I'm going to put it so that the hills are like that. So it goes like that. Okay. And then I'm going to put some glue on it. Like that. Then flip it up. Like that. You guys seeing how that works? You're just kind of building it. So you're just kind of taking the pieces. After every one that you put down, you're pushing them down again, making sure that they get stuck the way that you want them. And then I think I'm going to bring in some of this lighter blue here. And we might start moving into some different colors. You kind of always want to leave like a good chunk on the bottom. So you don't want to ever make your like hills and valleys too steep, because then it'll show through, and that can then cause all sorts of problems. Because like if I cut it too close, then you're not going to have enough to cover. So you kind of want to make sure that you do that, not make it too thin. If that makes any sense at all. Okay, we're going to keep going. And then sometimes you might need to go back, add a little bit of glue to the bottom part like that, like I just did down here on the bottom. Do that. The good news is that like by the time you get farther down, the top stuff tends to dry pretty quickly, which works great. So we're going to let that go. And then now let's do a green. We're just cutting hills and rivers and valleys. And then maybe this one is going to end up on a hill like that. We're going to put this like this. Okay, add a little bit of glue. And it's okay if you have some pieces that are really close like this, or even if they overlap, because that's how you create visual interest, right? Our eyes like things that are not like perfect, surprisingly. Sometimes perfect things are great, but when we're doing things that have to do, especially with like nature, we like kind of when it's like there's a little bit of an overlap and it kind of like feels better to our eye. If we're looking at something that we know occurs in nature, that's our eyes like that. Because if it looks too perfect, then our eyes don't believe it. And then our eyes like think, oh, that's not real. That didn't really happen. Okay, I'm gonna do some teal. We're slowly kind of moving down to like our darker colors. So I'm gonna do like a really wavy teal. And then I'm gonna decide, I actually don't like how that part looks. So I'm gonna go back in and fix it a little bit. So it's not quite so sharp. See, easy to do something different if you want to. Oh yeah, I like that much better. Okay, so we'll do some more blue. The great thing about this glue or this clear glue that came in your kit is it dries really fast, which is nice. Okay. And then I think I might do another of this light blue next. Let's see. Yeah. And this one is going to be kind of straight, just like a little bit smoother kind of angles. Because this one is so like sharp, I'm going to have a little bit of a contrast and do it different like that. Okay. We're going to put it like here. That. And then I'm going to do some dark blue. Maybe a thicker piece here. And then I'm going to do on this one just kind of one hill and then a slant like that. So that I can put it kind of up higher like that on there. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Just do whatever speaks to you. Whatever you'd want to see in your sunset. That like that. And then I think, let's see, do I want to do another of this and then end on teal? Or do we do this and then end on that blue again? Maybe we do that. That's what we're going to do, guys. Okay. 3 more we're going to do. Okay. So then we're going to do kind of a loopy blue. I mean, purple. I bet there's a bunch of you that have purple as your favorite color. Oh yeah, like that. It's kind of okay if you make a mess, just kind of put all of them in the same spot. It makes it real easy to clean up. You can throw all these scraps away. Okay. And we're going to put this down here like this. Push it down. Okay. And then we'll do another blue, dark blue. Go like that. Okay, pushing this down all the way. Every now and then stop and push it all down, make sure it gets nice and dry. And then we're going to end with this. Oh yeah, it's going to be pretty. cover up the bottom with that. So that's going to be our last piece. What I like to do sometimes, what I want to do before I put that last piece on is kind of see if there's any, see there's this whole section that's just sticking to the piece in front of it, not to the back of the foam. You see that, how it goes like that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to add some glue down here and just help get that down so that it'll dry. And then now I'll come in and I'll do this last piece. Okay. And then we're going to cover up all of that like orangey yellow color. Okay. And it's okay if you have a little bit of glue like see through, this is going to dry clear. If you see spots like here that needs a little bit more glue, come in and you can add a little bit more glue there, push it down. And you just kind of are going to let that just sit. So this is all done. Like I can see, oh, this guy is popping up. We're going to add a little bit more here. Good news is while it's still drying, you can kind of move it around, do what you need to do. And then we're going to let it dry, can keep drying while we move on to our next section, which is our star. Okay. So I'm going to move this up here. I'm going to clean up this mess a little bit. Move these guys over here so they're all organized. Out of the way. And our next step is going to be, we're going to push this up here while it dries. And our next step is going to be cutting out this sun, okay? Which is what we need to do, which is why it gave us a handy dandy template. Your template, once you punch it out, will look like this, but if it hasn't been punched out already, it may look like this. So you might have to just know that these things pop out. And if that's the case, then you just pop these guys out. It's perforated, so it pops out really easy, just like tearing a coupon out or something like that. And you're just going to pop it out just like that. Okay. So if yours doesn't have it already all out, then you might have to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this piece that already has it all popped, and I'm going to use a pen or a marker. Any color will work because we can trace it, and then we can cut it out the way that we want to cut it out, and flip it over, and then you won't have to see the marker. So I'm going to use the light pink marker. And what I'm going to do is, now there's two ways you can do this. Okay. You can be like completely literal, and you can trace every single piece like this, every single piece. Now for me, some of these triangles then become very, very tiny to try to cut and try to glue down. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use the big circle, and then I'm going to show you how to cut triangles out of a line. Okay. So I'm going to cut out my big circle. Okay. And instead of, see, if I try to cut these guys out, they're so tiny. And then it gets really hard to try to like glue them. It's like really, really, really fidgety. And since we're working with foam, then it gets like glue, and then you get glue all over your fingers. But I think the sun will look just as good with just a little bit bigger triangle. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'll show you how. But let me cut out my circle. So here's my circle, and you see you just flip it over and you can't see the lines. So that's the side we'll glue up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut just a strip of fabric, or excuse me, of foam, just like I did for cutting out my stripes for my seascape, or my skyscape. And I'm going to just kind of cut triangles out of that. See how much bigger that is? It's going to be so much easier to work with. And then we'll just cut little, like you're cutting slanted lines, and you're just cutting out your triangles. And then we'll just make that work. Probably don't need a ton, but we'll do it. I think that will do it. Okay, so now that we've got my sun all cut out, we're going to glue it down. Now this may still be drying a little bit, but you can see it's already more secure than it was a minute ago. But you can see it's still drying. So we're going to use some glue to glue down my sun. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky because you're gluing it over a couple of different layers. So you've got like 3 or 4 different layers that I'm putting it on. You kind of need a little bit more glue than you might think you do. And you kind of want to get all the way down so that you can get all of the pieces. So I'm going to put mine like right here. And I'm going to hold it down for a minute. Get it to stick. And there's my sun. There's my circle. And now I'm going to glue down my triangles, my sun rays. This project uses a lot of glue. So you'll definitely need more glue than what comes in the kit. So you'll just need to use Elmer's glue or whatever else you have around your house. And then we're going to stick that down. And this is where you decide how many rays your sun has. You could even decide if you, instead of triangles, you wanted to do lines, like you could just cut out straight lines like this and put those on your sun. Like you decide what your sun looks like, whatever you want to do works. I like the rainbow. I like the triangles because I love a good triangle. I'm going to put this one here. And this one here. Kind of tricky because you're going over a couple of layers of like foam, right? So it's not like you're gluing it onto like a flat surface. You just kind of have to like fiddle with it a little bit. But oops, see, that got stuck on my finger. Go. Just keep going. I hope where you guys are, it's sunny and you're not like in a lot of rain or something. Where I'm at, it's kind of rainy today. Blue. Oh, one more little star or little sun ray. Okay. Okay. So there's my star. It's all finished. Don't worry, you can see the white, but it's going to dry clear. But then the very last step, which I think is like the funnest step, is to use our stickers. So I'm going to use this guy right here. So we're going to put, like, since this is in the clouds, like we're doing a sunscape or like a sunset or a sunrise. I think we should use some of these clouds, and let's use clouds. Oh, it comes off with the backing like that. So then let's maybe put one in front of these guys. Some more glue down there. There we go. That's a good spot for one. Maybe, what do you guys think? I think it needs a umbrella. I mean, umbrella. Why do I call rainbows umbrellas? I think it's because in my head, when you see a rainbow, you probably also need an umbrella. I don't know why. That's a silly thing I do sometimes. So then maybe let's put in an umbrella, a rainbow down here. Okay. And then the very last thing I'm going to put on mine, maybe I'll do another cloud. We'll do another cloud up here. We'll flip it like this. And then I think it would be fun to put this little unicorn in mind. Because wouldn't it be lovely to imagine a unicorn flying through your sunset? Put it right up here, and we're going to kind of layer it over those clouds, so it looks like he's in front of the clouds. And then inside your kit is sequins. If you want to add sequins, you want to add pom-poms, you could add that. But I feel like this looks pretty darn good. Look how cute that looks. I love how that turned out. Can you guys see that? And then, like I said, don't worry about this glue. It's still a little bit dry or wet right now, but it's going to dry clear. And then it's going to be just fine, and you won't even see it. It'll just disappear into the foam. But that is our project today. So if you guys have any questions, ask your grown-up that's with you, helping you with this project. I hope you had a lot of fun, and I will be doing 2 more classes. So I hope you had a chance to watch those, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody. You're having a good summer.